All right, hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Around the Fire. Today is like COVID lockdown day number, I don't know, 5, 6 or something here in Michigan. Pretty easy to lose track pretty quickly. So I'm just trying to think of some fun things we can do in the house. You've seen I've painted a few guns if you followed the channel. If not, head over and check those out. Those are pretty fun. But today I just wanted to talk about optics and your budget and budget optics. We've had, well, not so much optics, particularly this one's going to pertain to scopes and variable power optics. But we've had an opportunity to have a few on this channel, maybe a few more than the average person. We don't have a ton, but I have some insight here that I wanted to share and some thoughts to go over with you. Maybe you're a newer shooter, maybe you're getting something for a particular rifle, and just some things to look at because, I watch a lot of channels and I love everybody out there. I mean, I try to spread the love. I try to, be buds with everybody. But a lot of people have this attitude nowadays that if you're not running like top tier, top dollar stuff, they call you the pores, and that like your rifle isn't worth the shit or worth looking at. And I just don't think that that's the case, at least all the time at all. I mean, some optics are going to be better than others. Some products are going to be better than others for sure. Maybe a budget optic won't make it to, 200,000 rounds through it. Maybe it will, who's to say? I've had quality things that have broken on me sooner than junk things. So, nowadays where everything is pretty much made in China and, somebody slaps their name on it, not too many American made, or, European made products. And if they are, you're paying a extreme premium for them. There's some high quality optics out there for thousands of dollars, more than some people spend on the guns themselves. So without trailing off too far, I apologize. Let's just get right into it. What we have here, I have a few more on guns over here on the side, and we'll get to those as we go. But I just want to start at the cheapest, talk about them a little bit, and work my way up. So the cheapest one, it looks like I'm going to have to talk about today, is going to be this one here from CV Life. Now, CV Life is a brand that can be purchased easily by anyone on Amazon. Now, this scope we used in our Mosin video out at 100 yards, and the scope shoots better than I do, I'll say that. The scope and the gun combination that we had built there. So this is a solid scope. It comes with scope rings. It doesn't come with this scope ring. This is just like a single mount that I had on an AR. It's a pretty darn long scope. I mean, if that's the look you're going for, it does have, it advertises having a 24 zoom. I'm going to go ahead and say that the 24 zoom on this is fairly accurate to 24 zoom, because that's a thing you'll notice a lot with a lot of these cheaper products, especially like Asian products and stuff like that, is that it'll advertise something like a 24 zoom, but when you put it up against a high quality optic with say like a 12 zoom like this Vortex here, you would see that you're about zoomed out the same distance, but this one says it's 24 and this one says it's 14. So they're not actual. They're just slapping a number on there and calling it a setting, to sell you something. But these CV Lifes, the glass quality is pretty darn good. It's not going to be Vortex glass, but it is clean and crisp. It's just a 1-inch tube. The turrets, have covers. They're non-resettable, so I wouldn't put this on like a long-range rifle. That was why I ended up removing it from the Mosin, because I want to do some more long-range target shooting with it, and I wanted something that I could reset the turrets on. So these are not resettable. It does have a really nice look to it, kind of cool tactically look, but it's more, I will throw this one in the category as like a great one for a hunting rifle. This is, like I said, you're easily going to make 100-yard shots with it. The reticle on this one, the crosshairs are a minute of angle, but they are a little thick. I will warn that the crosshair lines on the CV Life are a little thick. But excellent scope for the money. I've had this for many years now, and I put many rounds through it on various caliber rifles. Never had any problem with it. We adjusted it all sorts of different ranges back and forth for different, rifles. Because I feel like that ends up being the failing of a cheap product if you're going to get it, is you adjust it too much too often, and then all of a sudden something in here that was just cheap to begin with just comes apart, and that's the end of it. But no, it's hung in there. It's done really well. The eye relief on it was okay and adjustable too. I don't really have any complaints about it, except for, like I said, the reticle's a little thick, and the illumination on something like this I feel like is rather useless. It's not really necessary. It's got a pretty clear and evident minute of angle crosshairs. But yeah, so that's the CV Life 6x24x50 AOEG. So that's a what is that? It's $46 on Amazon when I just looked it up. I don't think you could go wrong with that for some fun, some plinking, some target shooting if you weren't, trying to be crazy about it. Like I just want to be able to reset my turrets to 0 to adjust out, for things past 100 yards, because I'd actually like to try and stretch a few rifles out and get into that. And this just isn't ideal because you just can't, make all those adjustments for your dope book. So moving on from that, our next most affordable option is going to be this PinT here. Now, PinT is another Amazon brand, overseas company. But I will say I've been, again, very impressed with the quality of. If you go look up their stuff, you won't see too many negative reviews because they're putting out a quality product and they're selling a lot of them. So you got to figure, although this is like a Chinese scope again, Japanese, whatever, overseas, it's sold in high enough numbers, obviously through Amazon, probably thousands. And if you see there that it's only got, 4 negative reviews out of X amount of thousands of scopes, that's not a bad deal, okay? So again, the glass is pretty clear on this one. This one's a 44 millimeter, or 40 millimeter, this one. Came with the sunshade, adjustments out front, not a nice fancy one on the side. It does have nice resettable turrets, which is cool. Turret locks on the bottom, resettable on the top. This one goes out to 16. I will say the eye relief on this one is pretty long, so you want to have it as far forward, in being in mind for your setups. I'm a small guy, and I'll have the buttstock all the way out, and I still feel like I gotta put my face back here, which is not a bad thing for avoiding scope rash, but it just is a pretty long eye relief on this one, which is just something to take of note. But the glass is clear. It has a thin reticle. This one I believe is a mil dot. Again, illumination, but unnecessary illumination. I feel like you could use it if you need to. It works. But in my case, not needed. The adjustments are accurate. Not much more to say about this one other than, again, this steps up a little bit, I feel like, from that CV Life, because that CV Life, like I said, doesn't have the adjustable turrets. So this one's around $60 on Amazon. And for around $60, you're getting something that shoots good. We've used it on a bunch of rifles. Again, work out to 100 and more easily. Glass clarity is okay, not the greatest, but just fine. You're good enough to get it done. Accurate adjustments, and it does hold the 0 nicely as long as you're not, probably kicking it around in the back of your truck. I've hunted with this one. I've done some target shooting with this one. It hasn't given me any problems. Again, another quality overseas, budget brand that you could slap on a rifle. But like I said, this is a $60 scope. Don't expect it to last 10 years. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I can't tell you. I haven't gotten to that mark yet. But, I think for $60, it's a deal. It's a win in my book. So we haven't had any problems with that one. So moving on. Okay, now, so this was a product that BSA had some years back. They seem to not sell them anymore, but they have things that are comparable. This was just kind of a interesting, weird little idea they had when the whole tactical market was kind of booming. It was the BSA Stealth Tactical, and I want to say that I paid at my local retailer, on sale or something like that, maybe like $150 for it. Again, it wasn't a super expensive scope. BSA will have all sorts of products ranging from, super expensive you know, higher end stuff to lower end stuff. But with BSA, I always feel like you get a relatively okay quality. I've never really had, you know, any super major problems with them. This one, it's kind of a weird one. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it on camera just because of how long this rifle is, but bear with me here. The ends are sort of like a telescoping photo lens almost, like it has a cover that closes like that, and the whole thing being built into it like that just made it this giant beast that it is. That was an interesting idea, just however unpractical. Now, this rifle for $150, or I'm sorry, not this rifle, this scope for $150. You know, it's another one with good, a little bit better glass quality than say the overseas ones. You know, noticeable difference, I'd say yeah, at least a little bit. But you're kind of in your realm of nothing fancy again here. You got your adjustment out front. This one actually did not have resettable turrets. Believe it or not, I thought it did when I bought it, but there was this little indent screw that you could actually take off on them, and there's two O-rings that keep it captive so they stay on there, so I actually just take them off and do it myself. So I made it a adjustable, if you will, as I say that, and now I can't get it back together. There we go. But yeah, so not, you know, I've modified that one a bit. So this one, you know, again, like 150 bucks, you're getting a little bit better glass quality, but for a little bit less money, you know, like I said over there with the other one, back to here, back to this PinT, a little bit less money, you're actually getting a pretty feature rich scope because it's got built-in adjustments, you know what I mean, and the ability to re-zero. So, you know, that's kind of the decision you gotta make sometimes when you're spending, you know, the money for quality. You know, you're saying, oh, I want to buy higher quality. Well, higher quality this sometimes sacrifices that. So, and that's kind of what you're getting here. Again, this is a real decent scope. You know, good for long range shooting. Nice thin reticle. This one's a mil dot reticle. Yeah, I'm sure they make all different variations. But, you know, just something in this, you know, price point, just bear in mind that this is sort of when you start becoming entry level into what you want to call, like, say, a little bit more quality entry level type brands with better glass and things like that, better warranties, stuff like that. You might end up sacrificing a feature or two, you know, something like that. So that's the BSA. Like, I you know, I don't have every BSA product in the world. I've had a few. I don't think you'll go wrong with a BSA if you see it on the shelf and you say, hey, that looks cool, that would look nice on my rifle and it'll suit my need. I think you'd be pretty well off. So, and that's going to be the case for most things in this video. I'll be honest with you, I'll tell you the truth about them. But, you know, we don't usually have anything that we hate, because if we hate it, you know, we probably don't have it anymore. Okay, so moving up from the 150 range, now we're getting into like around the $200 range. So around $200, you can get yourself into what we kind of call the entry-level Vortex, or I'm supposing many people probably do. Maybe there's cheaper ones. But this is the Diamondback. Diamondback is a really nice little scope. It's not super big, so it's not going to give you that super big look that you want. If you're going for that on like a nice big rifle, you can tend to look a little bit on the anemic side, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because, you know, if you're moving and shaking, you know, weight does become an issue. And it's, you know, it's not a heavy scope at all. It does have sealed covers, not exposed covers, but they are re-zeroable. You know, it's a Vortex product, so it's going to be quality. The glass is, you know, really, really great quality. That's one of, I feel, Vortex's great claims to fame. And it's a 4-12. This model, so, you know, if it says 4-12 on it, you know it's a 4-12 from Vortex. But again, you know, $200, not super feature rich again, right? So we've got adjustments, resettable adjustments, which is super nice that, you know, say something in the entry level from them comes with that, because they don't have to do that, because a lot of people don't. You have eye relief adjustment, you have your zoom adjustment, but you have no parallax adjustment out here. So this one out at longer ranges could get a little weird. I have sort of worked around it with this one. I've never had too many troubles, but this is what you would consider probably to be more of a, 100 yards, 200 yards type of scope, hunting, deer, elk, things like that. Not necessarily what you would want if in at least Vortex's lineup if you were going to do some long range target shooting. Now you definitely could with this. You could get by with this. This could get you started, no problem, but it just isn't going to have all the features that you're going to want later on down the road. So just something to think about if you're going to spend 200, then maybe, if you were doing like say Vortex or something, in that sort of ballpark that you'd want to just put away a few more bucks for something a little bit more feature rich, because you can end up replacing this down the road for something else. But again, another excellent product. Like I feel like, most Vortex products are, you can't really go too wrong there. All right, and moving on from the Vortex to the Sightmark. This is called the Sightmark Triple Duty. There's really no good way to show this one, is there? Okay. Well, so the Sightmark Triple Duty is sort of, in my consideration, the most bang you're going to get for your buck. So allow me to explain why. So something with like a nice glass clarity, because this comes pretty close, like a Vortex. But like I said, the Vortex didn't have the parallax. The Vortex does have a super crisp, paper thin reticle. So does this. So it's got a lot of the higher end qualities to it. It has your parallax out there adjustment, focusing adjustment, range adjustment for on the left here, which is really nice and convenient. It's 8 to, what is this one? I think it's like 8 to 24 or something, right? 25, 8 to 25. Locking and resettable turrets. It, doesn't have a sunshade, but it has a rimmed lip that's pretty good and deep, and it's also threaded there. So you could get a sunshade for it, I imagine. And again, it has illumination and eye relief adjustment. So this one, unlike these other ones that we all just did, all the other ones were 1-inch tubes. This one's your 33 millimeter tube, which is going to give you some more light and a little bit bigger picture. It's nice. It's very, very nice. The illumination on this one too, unlike a lot where you see, just an illuminated, some sort of reticle, whether it's like wire at the end or etched. And a lot of these cheaper scopes, when you turn the illumination on, sometimes you can see like dust in there, and there you can see the light bouncing off the side of the tube. You're not going to get that with this. This one is actually, it's like it has to be etched glass, and then on the outer edges it's thicker something, because it's just the smallest little threaded part of the middle that actually illuminates. And it's actually really, really nice looking and really, really effective. So all the features on this scope function as they should, and it comes in at a price point, I think around, according to what I wrote down here, you can pick them up for around $200. I think we got this one with a coupon one day for like a 10 or 20% off, so I think I got it around like 180, 190 or something like that. But I've loved it. It's been great. I actually wish I had some extra cash to sling around and buy a few more of these, because I would absolutely just buy a few of these. You can put them on just about everything. They're great. It's probably my favorite optic to shoot at range now, just because everything's there. We do test a lot of things. I will continue to buy products and try them out, try things I haven't done before. But this is just one of those products that's super tempting to just hoard them up and put them on everything and say, okay, I'm done with it. I found the one. Okay, moving on from that. Okay, so believe it or not, this little unassuming dude right here is the most expensive zoomable type optic I think I actually have, which doesn't say much about me. I'm a total cheap ass, and obviously making YouTube videos, I hope people understand that I would like to have really, really nice expensive things, but in the spirit of producing content, especially budget-minded content for budget-minded individuals, which is sort of what this channel is geared toward and become, to purchase things on a regular basis or even semi-regular basis, I can't be blowing, $800 to $1,000 on optics for every gun. So, but that being said, this is a really interesting optic that does not seem to be produced by Bushnell anymore, but they do have a variation of it. So I wrote that down because this one was called the Bushnell AR223, I believe. And let's see, it says, I wrote down Bushnell AR optic with illuminated something something. Yeah, so they've got something like that on their website. I looked it up. It's 1:4, and it has exposed turrets that are rezeroable. You just have to use an Allen wrench on the side. And it is a first focal plane with the drop reticle. So it's a very, very cool little military sort of inspired, you know, low power variable optic. So you can go from 1 to 4 pretty quickly with just the flick of the lever. So, you know, what are the practical applications for that? It's something like this, you know, an AR upper. You could use it in close quarters. You know, it does have a little bit more of a tunnel vision sort of thing than, say, a red dot or a holographic would. But it offers you also the ability to just throw that over and then be out at 4 zoom. And because it is first focal plane, out at 1 zoom, your drop reticle looks almost just like a teeny little red dot, but then when you bring it into 4 zoom, it becomes a circle with an incompleted ring at the bottom with a little line in it, which is really cool, and it's all illuminated, and it gets quite a bit larger. So it's a fun optic. I really don't have anything bad to say about it, and I imagine that's why they've continued to develop it and continue to produce models such as it. Glass quality is good, reticle's good, holds 0. You know, another quality product, like I said, we wouldn't have around if it wasn't. And these ones retail for around, it looks like around $260. So that's the higher end of what we have here. So I just wanted to put this little video together for you guys. I hope that it was helpful to you. Maybe you've seen some of these products around and had questions about them, but didn't know anybody that had actually used them. You know, you looked up some reviews on them, and you know, all the YouTube reviews just seemed like they were just trying to sell you something. Because, you know, let's face it, YouTube has demonetized everyone nowadays. So I see a lot of these channels, including myself. You know, I'm not ashamed to mention, you know, sometimes I will have the links to something available on Amazon in the hopes that, you know, I can get an affiliate store going with them, but I've never seemed to have much success for that, so I've kind of stopped pushing that envelope. But that being said, all these products we've shown you here today, any single one of them I think you would do fine on, as long as you were using them for the application that I had mentioned in mind. You know, something like these two here, maybe more on the hunting side. This one here gets you a little bit more into the realm of, you could do some target shooting and some hunting together. It would be like a good mix because it's, you know, adjustable. This would be like your more tactical military fun time. You know, you could do some hunting with it, but probably only, you know, I would say, like, I've used this out in the woods to 75 yards and had no problems with it, but you're not going to get a really great zoom out beyond that on a deer in a big open field. But, you know, if you did want something, you know, a little nicer, like I said, you could go for the PinT or the Sightmark. Those two were really great, you know, really cool. And the PinT's got sort of almost all the features the Sightmark does, but for, what was it, almost around $140 less. So, you know, it's up to you, but I can tell you comfortably here from my experience that you wouldn't have any problems with any of these, and you know, any of these, if you did, you know, wouldn't break your bank to have to end up replacing down the road. So, all right, guys. I hope you're all surviving and thriving. Be good, stay out of trouble, and take care of each other. Until next time.